Hey everyone, John Lorden here. Happy Monday. Today is April 23rd, 2018, and this is another episode of Johnny Vlogs. This is what I consider an odds and ends episode. I have a bunch of small things I want to cover with you guys, including a little bit of follow-up from last week's episode. Before we do that, we have to thank the new Patreon supporters, Antoine Philippot. Hope I'm saying that right. Might be Filippo. And Deborah Cour, or is it Coure? I don't know. I think it depends on where you live. But to both Antoine and Deborah, thank you so much for the support. And thanks to all my other wonderful patrons out there. I truly appreciate it. We also had an interesting turn with the raffle this month. If you're not aware, every month I do raffle off two $25 gift cards, one for anyone that has donated more than $100 over the lifetime of their patronage. I guess that's the right word. And then another $25 for everyone else. We had someone that had actually won before, and I do have a rule in there that you can't have won in the last 6 months, but they were outside of that, and they offered to do another number pull basically on the raffle so someone else could win it. So that was very cool. Thank you so much, Larissa. I really appreciate that, and it's cool to spread the wealth a little bit with other people. But Larissa, you really need to get yourself to Vegas quick because that luck is working. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Follow up on last week's episode. The majority of you really felt that police do need to be involved in the social media layer. There wasn't actually a whole lot of criticism about that thought. I think everyone is pretty much on the same page there. There's more articles coming out almost. There's one that was literally just released today that's kind of touching on this once again. So I think it's a big topic. I think it's going to continue to be a big topic because we have so many police forces in this country. I think it's like 18,000 different police departments in this country. Admittedly, some are going to be, getting into this. Others might not be as quick to, but ultimately, it is one of those things. I think most of you came to the conclusion of it's another tool. And one of the articles that I read today was even talking about using facial recognition, not always on social media sources, but that was one of the potential areas. For example, if they wanted to take someone's picture, maybe from a profile where they were using a different name or something like that, and find out if they were previously booked in their system, this software could allow that to happen. And there was some conversation in that article about privacy rights and some things along that nature. But you have to remember that this social media layer, in particular for places like Twitter and all that, there's not a lot of control there with that information. People are knowingly posting it publicly. So if you are someone that wants to use those types of things anonymously, just know that law enforcement is now starting to use systems of facial recognition, not tied to giant databases of, everyone's face and everyone's name or anything like that yet, but they are certainly doing it comparing to booking photos. In this particular area, it was a county in Oregon. They were talking about a database of 300,000 booking photos for people that they've obviously booked before. And I can see where it's helpful. Occasionally police will pull someone over. The person won't have an ID, won't tell them who they are. Police can now take a picture of the person, run it through their system, and if they've been booked before, can pull that information out. So kind of an interesting use of the technology there. Another article I read talked about Lawrence, Kansas, and their police department and what they've been doing with their Twitter account. Their Twitter account actually has, at this time, 103,000 followers, which is more than the population in Lawrence, which is pretty interesting. And how did they get to that? Well, they didn't do quite what you see all the other police departments do, which I've looked at a lot of police department accounts, and a lot of the time they will simply have, a car was stolen last night. Here's the details of where it was, or here's a press release on a robbery that occurred. Be sure to buckle up. People are going to be drinking this weekend because it's a holiday, so drive safely. Know that there's more police out there. But in Lawrence, they kind of push the envelope a little farther than that. Here is a quick screenshot of their Twitter account. I'm actually filming this on April 20th. So to any of you out there that happen to celebrate April 20th, happy April 20th. I hope your memory is back together now at this point. Here's a post from Lawrence Police. PSA, don't give marijuana to your pets, no matter how into 420 you get. And it's actually a repost of something at 41 Action News that says, pet raccoons stoned off too much weed, brought to Indianapolis firehouse. Confusion ensues. It's 4:45 on 420, and you get pulled over, and you got orange or red Cheeto dust on your fingertips. That's what we call evidence. Of course, because it's 420, they're going to have a lot of marijuana humor. But this is here's a good example of where they're using the humor, but they're kind of wrapping it up in something that is somewhat meaningful. Hey, potheads planning to toke up on 420, stay off the road. Stock up on Cheetos and Mountain Dew before you spark. Saturation patrols to find drugged drivers to occur. And then it actually has a real press release down there about what they're going to be doing for that. So it's interesting to me to use comedy in this way. And in the article, they talk about this was kind of a progression. There was a person that wanted to start the Twitter account for the department. Everything he was tweeting was being checked before it would go out. I don't know why that loosened up, but eventually it did loosen up to the point where he kind of cracked a joke about a local sports team. That went viral. And all of a sudden that kind of seemed to open the gates for his sense of humor to be used more and more. And there is a great aspect to this that I see kind of connected to Mike the Cop, who we've had on the channel here, and his whole idea, his charity actually called Humanize the Badge. And that's precisely it. All of a sudden, you look at a Twitter account like this, and it's someone friendly. It's someone that's having fun. It's not someone that is slapping you on the wrist and saying, hey, you shouldn't necessarily do that at all. It's someone that's saying, hey, if you are going to do this, be smart about it. Make sure that you don't get busted by us. Get your Cheetos and Mountain Dew before you decide to spark up. It's a much different tone of conversation that is happening here. The article also mentions that some police officers have people coming up to him saying, hey, we love your Twitter account. And that's just kind of breaking down those walls a little bit of, and I know I feel them on occasion too, where it's just sometimes it's intimidating because of the, I don't want to say the bravado or the posture, but there is kind of this thing that cops can sometimes carry that is somewhat off-putting. And something like this, where you have a Twitter account, can really help break some of that down and make it more about people connecting with people. And ultimately, I think that has to help police work. I mean, how can it not? Speaking of helping police work, I did reach out to Sergeant Horsley. Actually, he reached out to me before I even got to send him the email. First, he wanted to let me know that they had changed their email address for tips, and he wanted me to update that information on the videos I had posted. So of course I did. And of course I took the opportunity to talk to him about coming on to the channel. He is seeking approval from his chief. They basically have a media relations officer that would kind of typically handle that type of stuff, but he feels like he should be the one commenting on this. I also want him to come on because I know that we were fairly critical of him, and it seems only fair to me that we give him a chance to address some of that criticism to help us understand it better. And then, of course, ultimately, to get better information out there so maybe we can shake up some tips and help move this case forward. So fingers are crossed. It is in the works. I haven't heard back from him yet. We had a couple of emails back and forth on it, but I'm hoping that that comes together so that we can continue this conversation on Lindsay's case. And I've been collecting a bunch of great questions. As a matter of fact, if any of you out there have any particular questions that you think I should address with Sergeant Horsley, please go ahead and put them in the comments down below. Outside of that, I did say this was an odds and end episode. I ordered up all my stuff for Comic-Con. Freudian slip. Geek and Dork slip for CrimeCon. So I'm ready to go. I've got a certain number of brain scratch pens. I don't know if I'm going to have enough for everyone out there. So if you want to be sure to get one, find me. Find me as soon as you can, as early in that weekend as you can, because I do think I might run out of brain scratch pens at some point. I will hopefully also have some copies of Wraithworks, which you might have seen mentioned on the Twitter account. Frederick Crook is the author of a story about a YouTuber who gets kind of tangled up in a case that he's looking into. And I kind of helped him. He interviewed me, I think it's, about 8 months ago or so. And we've been kind of having ongoing discussion about certain aspects. I shared some stories with him. One of those stories kind of made it into the book in some interesting way. Maybe if I do a review on the book, I'll actually share with you guys what that is. But just know that it's got a little touch of Lord and Art's logic in there. I think Frederick did a really good job on it. I really appreciate that. He reached out to me and asked for my help on that. If you guys are interested, it actually just got released on 4/20. The day that I'm filming this. I think it's available on Kindle. I'll have a link in the description box below, but you can also buy paperback copies. Or if you're coming to CrimeCon, I'm going to have a certain number there with me. I don't think I'm going to announce that I have them. I want this for real fans of the channel. So if you are watching this video, you are the person that I'm talking to. If you're going to be at CrimeCon, come find me and just ask, hey, John, do you got any of those books left? If I do, you're going to wind up with one. So that's it. If for some reason there's not enough people that have seen this video, maybe I will tweet some little special word that weekend that people can come up and say to me, and if they do, they'll get a free copy, something along those lines. But outside of that, got a Lord and Arts banner ready to go. Really excited to spend more time, of course, with Danielle Hallen. Maybe talk about if there's some potential future collaborations that we can work on. It was really fun having her on the channel. Just really excited about this weekend in general. So I hope that if you are close to CrimeCon in Nashville, Tennessee, you might consider coming out and spending a little time with us there. All right, everyone, that's it for today's Johnny Vlogs. Hope you have an amazing week. Thank you so much for all the wonderful support on this channel. I can't do it without you guys. Hope you'll come back tomorrow. I will see you there.